How funny is this, dude? At one point, 260-pound version of him. So add 50 pounds to him. And then fucking Mike the Menace Johnson and Zach Cummings were the bounce crew. Yeah. Zan, like, dude, fuck with us.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
It was before before everybody knew them.
But they were all a fight. I mean, like, dude, Mike left, the bouncing for, hey guys, I gotta take some time off. I'm going on the Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. So like they were
no, he couldn't tell us that. So
that's right.
He left, and
when he got back, he goes, I did well.
Yeah, he said he did. Well, it was when
the finals hadn't happened yet.
I was about to say
they can't tell anybody.
He came back and he was like
literally shopping in our store, and he's like, it went well.
Yeah, and then he went back. Then he went back and he lost. He lost the last one.
Mm-hmm. Who did he lose?
It was so sad too.
Jonathan Brookins.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was a big upset at the time. The show was really hyping up Mike.
They were. He was like the number one guy, and then Jonathan Brookins. I think he went like 1-3 in the UFC after that, and then now I think he just like does yoga.
Yeah,
in New York City or something.
Good for that dude.
Yeah,
Mike told me
he's always got that win though.
I was like, what's it like getting to that point? And he goes, dude, Dana White took us out on the town. It was awesome. Dana White just like handed him a wad of cash, and he was like, dude, let's go party tonight. And Mike said he was just stuffing that money in his pocket. He's like, I'm bringing this back.
He was in the passenger seat of a Lamborghini driving down the Vegas Strip, and Dana White was actually just throwing money in the car. And he said he was picking up and stuffing it in his pocket.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got some stories for sure. He's been with Tight Nutrition the whole time too.
Yeah, he has.
With King the whole time. That's awesome. And like Brian, how close are you with Brian? So
I've been working with Tight Nutrition for, I think my sponsors actually just ran out, but I was with them for a year. So I actually met him when I was down in Springfield, and then we always kept connection, but I know him pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, you got to meet him after this happened, but like a big victory for him in his personal life was he had a business partner that, just wasn't doing the right things that wasn't agreeing with. And, he's able to become, him and his other partner, Taylor, who's a guy who also used to work at Supplement Superstores. Those two are now the sole owners of Titan Nutrition. So you can see all the growth that Titan's been having. It's because those guys are good dudes.
Yeah.
It's been cool.
The company's really been growing.
Mm-hmm. We, all of these notes have nothing to do with the fact that you were from St. Louis, went to Missouri State, worked, started down in Springfield Fight Club. Is that where did you fight when you were in high school as well?
Yeah, I did. Actually, okay. Yeah. So I trained at a little gym in Eureka, Missouri called USA Martial Arts Academy, and it was owned by former kickboxers, but it's a karate school. So they had karate was the main thing, and then on the side they had the kickboxing. And I was like 8 years old, and my older brother was doing it. So I was in karate, and my brother would be doing the kickboxing classes. So everybody wants to be like their older brother. So I was like, oh, I want to do that. Yeah. So that was back when, I was like probably 16. And that was for the Golden Gloves. That wasn't the finals, but that was the fight to get to the finals.
Dude, is that you in the American flag shorts?
That's me in the American flag shorts.
Proud to be an American.
Dude. Those are trunks, dude. Those are trunks, dude, not shorts. But you're basically Jean-Claude Van Damme right now.
Pretty much at that point, yeah. Yeah, actually.
Was the guy you were fighting from Russia? Was this like a Rocky scenario?
He's probably from East St. Louis, so pretty close. Yeah. Pretty close.
He had some ethnicity
basically
to him.
the same thing,
that's actually when I won the Golden Gloves.
Dude, hell yeah.
Wow, 533 weeks ago. Wow.
That's wild that Instagram even tells you that. You're like, dude.
Like, oh, wow.
You're like, well, how old are you now?
I'm 28. Just turned 28 last, 2 weeks ago.
Very cool.
Very cool, man.
We're
so the age-old question, which is better, St. Louis or Kansas City?
Kansas City. 100%.
Kansas City.
Yeah, Kansas City's way better.
And
Kansas City's a different vibe, that's for sure.
It's completely different. I feel like St. Louis is like an old city.
Yeah.
They're not really updating, and it's a little dirty. I'm going to be honest. Kansas City's like new, and it's bright, and it's, I live in Overland Park, so it's a really nice area.
When I first moved here, people always said this, and the more I live here, the more I see it. But they said that if you're from the West Coast, you typically don't ever go past Kansas City. If you're from the East Coast, you don't usually go past St. Louis. And so St. Louis has a lot of East Coast kind of impression on it, right? And then West, all the influence from West Coast is in Kansas City. And it just definitely feels like that. Like when I think of like New York City and I think of like just the East Coast, it's just being kind of like an older, dingier, darker,
Yeah.
more like factories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More like massive buildings that are abandoned. That's what St. Louis looks like.
That's pretty much his St. Louis.
I just like St. Louis has got it's got better neighborhoods, but you're right. Kansas City just overall like
I love the neighborhoods in St.
like,
Louis.
they're both just kind of set up very differently. Differently because like
the city's all the way to the east in St. Louis, and there's not much west.
there's nothing once you cross the river, there's nothing.
Right.
But Kansas City's like kind of it's on both sides.
Don't just leave out all those strip clubs, dude.
you don't go to Pops.
the east side. You know, the east side.
Hustler
of St. Louis.
Club.
The Hustler, yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it's been so long since I've been there. I don't even know the names anymore. Shame on me.
Larry Flynn's.
The Hustler Club, Larry Flint's.
Yeah.
But but St. Louis or Kansas City has that centrally located downtown, which I think is just really makes it unique and different. You know, it's everybody likes to go downtown. Not a lot of people stay downtown.
In St. Louis.
St. Louis, and then here people stay.
Yeah, people will stay downtown. Yeah, I never really went downtown because I was only in St. Louis until I was like 18, and then I went to Springfield, and so I haven't lived in St. Louis ever since. It's just like I feel like it's way more spread out too.
True.
Right? So like I was from Eureka, which was like 45 minutes at least to St. Louis. And I was like deathly scared of St. Louis as a kid. I was like, if we went down there, like
You're gonna die.
you're gonna die. Yeah. But in like reality, it's really not that bad. But at the same time, I feel like St. Louis, they don't have like a plaza area. They don't really have. They have Ballpark Village, but I feel like it's like night and day between Ballpark Village and Power and Light District.
Yeah.
You know.
I like that it's open air in Kansas City. You know, they're made by the same company, right? So Cordish owns both of those.
Okay.
So they like a lot of the same bars, very similar look to them.
Oh yeah, PBR.
But at the end of the day, like everybody's down to personal preference. I'm sure if I lived in St. Louis, I'd find a lot of beauty there too.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously, like, dude, their parks are awesome. They have so many beautiful parks there, dude.
Yeah.
Their zoo is next level compared to Kansas City Zoo.
Oh yeah.
It's wild. So there's lots to, and they have like, as far as like the plaza area, they have Clayton and Ladue and like Plaza. They have Plaza Frontenac. They have like designer stores that we don't have here. So I don't know. At this point, is Kansas City a bigger city than St. Louis, or is St. Louis a bigger city than Kansas City?
St. Louis is bigger.
For sure. Bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I think this, but
I've looked this up.
I felt like just recently, Luke, help us out here, but the metro area, apparently, the city of Kansas City has so many more people in it than the city of St. Louis.
Oh, the city.
Right.
That might be right.
Oh, because nobody lives in the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, nobody. You don't live in St. Louis City.
Yeah.
Everything's in the county.
Now, those are metro areas. I didn't realize it's even that close, to be honest with you. I would have thought it like, St. Louis would have been bigger by like 1 million. It's only 0.6, a little bit less than that. Yeah. But St. Louis City, Kansas City, that's what I want to see.
You're right, though. Like when I was growing up, you would hear, St. Louis was like the murder capital of the United States for such a long period of time.
But so is Kansas City.
But we went to the first time I had ever went to Kansas City. We had a banquet, and
200,000 bigger.
I was like maybe 20 or 21, and we went to. Everyone's like, "Oh, let's go to the east side. Let's go to the east side." And I was like, "Yeah." I hear bad stuff about I hear bad stuff about that. And I remember we took a taxi over there. And they opened the taxi door, and the guy that was in front of Larry Flint's had 2 guns strapped to his legs, the door guy. And I remember being like, I'm going to go back to the hotel. And I shut the taxi and went back to the hotel. Because I was like, I thought in my head that there was such a, like I'm in danger.
That's the one time I went to Larry Flynn's. I went with my good friend from high school. And
were you over 21 at this point?
I was over 21.
He was 18. You can be Serhiy is like 18.
Depends on the bar. Roxy's I remember was 18.
Wow, let's get into how much you know about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Roxy's.
Yeah.
Didn't even know that was one.
That was one you could go to and you're over 18. When I worked at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
Something activity that you would do if you worked at Golden Corral.
Was they'd go there?
Everybody that would take their $22 they made that night.
Oh yeah.
Off of buffet tips. And and we went to Roxy's and just not proud of that.
Oh no.
What was your story about the
Sam, I've only been to a strip club once or twice. This is just one of the times.
I swear, honey, who's listening to this.
If you don't go, you'll never know.
Swear,
but once you know, you know better.
You gotta experience and be like, oh, okay, this is not as cool as you thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, everybody should. If you're gonna go to your first one, everybody should just go to Vegas. Don't go anywhere else.
Well, then you just ruin it at that point. Because no matter which one you go to, you're gonna be like, nothing compares to this.
Also true.
Let's see. We went to Larry Flynn's, and I was with my good friend from high school, and we're sitting there, and we're like sitting back from the stage, like we're all just trying to pass time. Like I think we're all in relationships, just kind of being dumbasses, going, hanging out at the strip club.
Plus you have $22.
We had $22 to my name. I was like, let's see who we can woo over there. And we're sitting there and we're watching. We're sitting in the back and there's a guy in the front with his phone out, like recording the stripper.
Oh no,
cardinal sin.
That's a very good way to get your ass.
And
beat.
I was like sitting there. I was like, that's not a good dude. I was like, screw that. I'm like, whatever. And my buddy that I was with, he's like very like loud and brash, and he's like, that's fucked up, man. That's wrong. That's completely terrible. And we're sitting there. I'm like, well, like, we're
gonna be at a strip club. You gotta be respectful.
Exactly. Yeah. That's someone's daughter. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything about it. Not a big deal. Like whatever. My buddy gets up and he goes to the door guy, and he's like, dude, this guy is taking videos of him. But we're trying to be like chill about it because we don't know who this guy is. This guy could have a gun on him. He could be crazy, whatnot.
Totally.
And so the front door guy, so it wasn't even the bouncer. It was just like the front door guy, skinny guy, walks up and is like looking around. He's like, which guy is it? And he's like looking directly at us.
It's like, hey guys, I told on him. Who was it?
He's like, who was it? Who was it? He's like, was it this guy? And we're sitting there like, hey. Yeah. So then he comes back up to us. We're like, yeah, it's that guy. And like, here, like, sat next to us and watched someone pull out his phone. And so he goes, they throw him out. And then so as like a prize that we got, they gave us a Larry Flynn's jersey that had 6'9" on the back. All right.
You still have it, right?
So it's funny because like, we're like, oh, we got to get rid of this shirt. Like our girl can't know that like we went here. Right. And he's like, I'll take it. And he puts it in his closet, and his girlfriend finds it, and it's her favorite bedtime shirt.
Oh no.
She wears it to bed like every other night.
That's incredible. That jersey's gonna be hung in the rafters one day.
I'm like, it just got full of glitter. So
yeah, I was about to say that's the thing. You got to wash the glitter off your face.
Jeez,
I don't know anything about this, but
here's a good question. If you are a frequenter of East St. Louis, what is there late night eats after you leave there? Is there a place to go for food, or do they serve food there?
Probably White Castles.
That's a good point. That's 24 hours.
It's 24 hours, yeah.
Maybe a Rallies if you're a St. Louisan, a Checkers if you're not.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Serhiy is like owned. It's its own city, and it's like mob owned.
What's it called?
Serhiy.
Here's the honest God's truth.
Is that
I have no idea what this is, Kyle.
Serhiy?
I have no idea.
That's what the city is. The East St. Louis where those clubs sit. It's called Serhiy. And it's its own city, and word on the street is it's like completely mob ruled.
Yeah, they have no laws.
Yeah,
lawless country.
Yeah. I don't know if it's lawless, but yeah.
That sounds about right.
I think it has like a lot of its own.
Get your massage at Serhiy.
Yeah,
that's it.
I hope I'm saying that right. Somebody from St. Louis is gonna be listening to this and be like, "This is a dumbass."
Well, if you're so here's a good question. You're just getting done. With high school, you're figuring out where you're going to go to college. You're Golden Gloves champion. You've had plenty of experience now in MMA world, and you're thinking, I'm going to go to Missouri State. Now, did you vet where you were going to go to school with what kind of MMA, what's the word for it here? Like, I guess what MMA gyms are around there and if they're good for you to train while going to school?
So
did that factor in your decision is the direct question.
No, it did not actually. I was actually at Mizzou my first semester of college. I was there, and
did you rush a frat?
I tried to rush for a week, and I realized it was not for me. So, while I was there, let's see, just wasn't working out. Wasn't my place. Didn't really like it at all.
Did it feel just too big?
It was too big. And I just I went there because my brother was going to school there, and I wanted to switch it up. So that's when actually I moved to Missouri State. So I was only there for a semester, and I trained at a gym called Hullet House. But it was an okay gym. It wasn't the best gym, but I wanted to go down to Springfield because all my best friends went down to Springfield, and they were telling me how like more of a close knit school it is, even though it's a bigger college, but it feels much more.
The campus is intimate, so for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was down there, I was like looking up MMA gyms in the area, and I knew a Springfield Fight Club because Michael Johnson and Zach Cummins had trained there. And I thought, oh man, 2 UFC fighters out of this gym. And whenever you're 18 years old, and see, that's me and Miranda Maverick actually right there. And I was like, oh, I want to train at this gym because they obviously have produced UFC fighters before. And so I actually I moved down there, and then I actually started joining into the gym in January of 2016, just like right away. And at this point, like they didn't really have any fighters at that point because it kind of came in cycles. It was like Michael Johnson, Zach Cummings, and that entire that phase. And then it was like kind of in this in between because the gym had split up. It was Springfield Fight Club. And then half the team had split up and formed their own gym. And so Springfield Fight Club had like no fighters. And so Miranda Maverick was training there. And she was just an amateur fighter as well. And so then that's when I decided just to start training there while I was going to school.
Worked out perfect then, huh?
Yeah, it worked out great.
So you're going through school. Did you graduate from Missouri State? Or?
Yes, I did. I got my degree in management with an emphasis in healthcare management.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so did you explore career options outside of fighting after that? Or was fighting always going to be the focus until fighting couldn't be the focus?
Yeah, so fighting's always going to be the focus until it's no longer the focus as well. So right after college, right after I graduated in 2019, I decided to move down to Florida to train full-time at a major MMA camp, and then decided to just get a job bartending while I was doing that. And so that's always been just the focus 100%. And then, so.
The bar scene though.
Yeah.
You did that in Springfield as well.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I was, I worked as a bouncer at a club called Boogie. And then,
the Boogie Bowl. Did you ever drink that?
Oh yeah. I had a couple of Boogie Bowls back in the day. Of course. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have indulged in a Boogie Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like
if you do it by yourself, you'll just die.
Yeah.
It's actually impossible. You couldn't do a Boogie Bowl by yourself.
No.
Sounds like a challenge, dude.
I mean, it's just impossible.
It's literally a fish bowl with 8 straws in it. Yeah. But it's just blue carousel, and I just remember it being
pretty
blue.
much. Yeah, I remember being blue as well.
I just remember because I never bartended at Boogie. I just bounced there, but the bartenders would grab like 4 bottles and just and it was just like forever pouring.
It was just a Long Island iced tea, but times 10.
That's pretty much what it was.
Yeah,
I actually started working at the Cracker Barrel there in Springfield.
Hell
so
yeah,
that's what I did for the rest of college was just go, wait tables at Cracker Barrel.
Nice.
And make like $30 a night, probably like at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
But at the same time, my rent was only $300 in Springfield. So I was like, and I had no bills.
Unbelievable, dude.
I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like
Springfield rent, dude. It was so great.
I had 2 roommates, and it was $600 a month. So I paid $200 a month for rent.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like every bit of a place that you would imagine that you'd only spend $200.
Uh-huh.
There's like maggots. I mean, it was just the worst. It was gross. But like my most expensive rent ever in Springfield, where I lived in like a loft with 2 bathrooms by myself, it was $900.
As a steal.
That's unbelievable. I mean, yeah.
Which loft did you live in?
What were they called? Maybe the Jordan Creek lofts.
Jordan Creek Lofts.
Just right off of it's National and Chestnut Expressway right there in the corner.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Across from the Come and Go.
Yeah, right there.
That was
did you ever live
a career guy and had like making a little bit more money? I was able to not have a roommate for once.
Yeah, splurge a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever live north of Chestnut Expressway?
I did not.
Yeah, that's the line.
It's because he knows better.
Kind of stayed
that's
away
the
from
line.
Yeah.
You get too far north, then
OTC College.
you're dealing with some serious
go
meth
past there.
issues.
Oh yeah.
Kyle lived in a house that cost $30,000 there.
Yeah, right next to Vandal.
Basically.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, very close.
So I lived in the Artifacts lofts, which were in downtown.
Yeah. So nice.
Yeah, those were really nice. That was only I think it was it was $450 each, and I had 2 other roommates. I'm like still thinking like that's like such a steal for that huge apartment. It was like 2-story with a loft, 2 bathrooms, everything's nicely redone.
For everybody listening though, minimum wage back then was $7 an hour. And
at Cracker Barrel, I was making like $15 an hour. Those tips,
That's right. Or even more at the Boogie, right?
Yeah.
They give you, but it's funny to think that like if something was $150 more a month, you're like, I just can't do it.
Oh, I couldn't swing it.
$450 for rent, like, oh man, that's crazy high.
Yeah,
you know?
That's the thing. I was worried about affording it because I was like, oh, I don't know if I can afford $150 more a month. You know, I was making like $300 a weekend, and now looking back, I'm like, oh,
that's
wow,
wild.
That is a drop for what you got to pay. You know.
We didn't know how good we had it when we had it, but my big question for the two of you, it's spice this conversation up. Give me your best bouncing story. Your most like, man, it was. We understand it was a different life, but where it was just like, yeah, that guy deserved it type of fight. What happened there?
Oh, let's see. One was so you didn't want to work Saturday nights because that was when the townies went out. right? You want to work the college nights because everybody had a fake ID and everybody was too scared to get in trouble. So like people didn't really act out.
Got it.
So Saturday night was when the townies would come in. And I remember my job was to like look over the dance floor, and it was like a family fight that happened. Like brothers and sisters got in a fight. And so I'm not the biggest guy. I'm 5'6", 155 pounds, 160 pounds. At this time, I was probably only 145 pounds when I was in college. And, but like, I don't really have fear because I've been growing up doing fighting. So I was like, oh, screw it. I'm going to go run into this club or into the middle of the dance floor and pull these people apart. So we're trying to pull them all apart. And, they had to call all of the all the bartenders from behind the bar and all the bouncers to break this whole family up. And, I remember I picked up one of the girls, like picked her up to drag her out, and I got smacked in my face with a watch, and I had a cut and all this black eye from getting smacked. And so they just like drug everybody out, and it was just like a whole family just got in a huge like fist fight in the middle of the club. But yeah,
wild. A family.
Yeah, a whole family.
All your buddies that you fight with, when you showed up with that black eye, were probably like, dude, you get a fight outside here? What are you doing?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I guess my best bouncing story. So when I worked at Zan, I worked as just a regular bouncer at first. And, I kind of worked my way up and became kind of a trusted guy within Zan, and became friends with the guy who was running it at the time, a guy named Derek. And Derek eventually was like, hey man, I need somebody to work the front door. And I was like, oh yeah, man, I can work the front door. What's, is there anything I need to know about it? And he was like, nah, just stand up there, check IDs, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, all right, very easy, man. And the first night he put me up there was on New Year's Eve. And so it was a busy ass night.
The busiest possible night.
Busy and cold. And so I'm standing up there and I'm checking IDs, and it's becoming like just a clusterfuck of people that like will come up to you. They're getting dropped, Zan. Yeah. They're getting dropped off in front of Zan.
Yeah.
These girls are wearing like next to nothing. They're running up to the door as there's a line, and they're like, can I get in? Can I get in? And so eventually I started just being like, yeah, you can get in. It's $20 extra if you want to cut the line. And so people just started being like, all right, here's $20. Be like a group of 6 people. Here's $20. And I was just taking that money and stuffing it in my pocket. And I was like,
oh yeah, that's what you gotta do.
Yeah. And I was like,
he organically did this on his own. No one taught him.
You just thought of this. Yeah.
At the end of the night, Derek goes, how was it working up there? And I was like, dude, it's pretty good, man. I think I made some extra money. And he's like, well, how'd you do that? And I was like, well, I mean, like, girls would come up and they'd be cold because it's like 0 degrees out, and they'd be asking to cut the line. And I just told them they could for $20. And he'd be like, how much money did you make doing that? And I pulled these huge wads of money out of my pocket. And I was like, I think it's a lot, dude. And we sat there and counted it. He goes, dude, this is $1,200. I was like, is that good? He's like, I didn't even know that was possible to do at the door like that. And I was like, well, I don't know, man. He's like, well, you can work the door from now on. He's like, cut me in on that.
I know people that would, they would take the fake IDs and then take them and pocket them and be like, oh, you want that? You want that back? It'll be $50 if you want to buy it back.
That sounds illegal. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You would never actually
do that. And I would only allow people to cut for money.
You didn't tell any stories about you beating somebody's ass, Kyle. That's what I was looking for. Give me the story about you curb stomping somebody.
I don't have any ass beating stories, man.
I know somebody who lost their tooth because of you.
I worked it with UFC fighters. They beat people's asses, and I was just like, right? These are the guys that handle stuff. I did watch one of our buddies get hit in the head with a brick one night. We used to kick people out the back door. And
where no one can see them beating their ass.
We kicked a dude out of the back door, and my friend Ruben.
Yeah.
Which he used to fight at Springfield Fight Club. But Ruben pushed this guy out, and he kind of fell down on him as he was pushing him out. And this guy reached behind him, and there was just a brick on the ground, and he just grabbed that brick and busted Ruben in the head with it. And it was like this guy got up and tried to run, and like 4 of us just chased him down, and that was a very bad decision for him. But Ruben had to go get stitches in his head. It was a bad deal. But the guy, very, very bad decision.
I've never been kicked out of a bar before, lo and behold, and I just never knew what that was like or like what that entailed. because honestly, I was part of the college kids crew that would go in. So no one was getting kicked out really.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget walking home one night and I'm like walking through one of the many alleyways of downtown Springfield, which are not like sketchy or anything.
No, not at all. No.
You're just walking down the alleyway and then all of a sudden I just watched somebody get like thrown through like, like this classic, like, push handle doors of a back door.
Like an old Western movie.
Yeah. And somebody's head opened that door. And they got thrown out of the door, and I'd never seen anything like it. I was like, "Oh my god!" A person just got thrown into the alleyway, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I wonder what that dude did.
You literally can't. If you work in a bar for a significant amount of time, you eventually become like so callous to people because you can like see it from a mile away. As soon as like a dude gets the glazy look in his eye, and as soon as they're like turning sloppy, and as soon as the bartender is just like, "Hey, pay attention to this guy. This guy's being an idiot." You just know.
They start like acting out like kids.
You just know it's coming.
The point and the bad thing, and they get thrown out.
Yeah.
It's sadly, like, ironically, I feel like it's just like a kid. Like when a little kid's just like acting out and like, you can tell they like are needing some extra attention. It's like, oh, that's what this kid's doing.
Yeah.
I've been thrown out of a bar once.
How'd it go?
It was my 21st birthday. I was at Finnegan's.
Finnegan's Wake, dude.
I was at Finnegan's
we used
Wake.
to go there before we'd go to work all the time.
Yeah, so I went in there and it was a Monday night. It was on my birthday, and it was me and my two friends, and only 3 of us at the bar. And I guess I drank too much, and I just threw up all over the bar counter. And it was like a Monday night.
That is a classic.
So then I got they're like, "Dude, you gotta go," and I was like, "I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm gonna go home." And then they
you probably ate some of their pizza earlier is what the problem was.
Well, they threw me out. No, my buddies, whatever. They didn't even like bring me upstairs. They just like dropped me off in front of my apartment. And next thing I just woke up like on the bathroom floor, and I was like, "Wow, that's so dangerous." Nobody came and checked on me.
Yeah. Welcome to college, dude.
Yeah, welcome to
that's Springfield, Missouri. Everybody's got at least one of those stories.
I mean, it was.
You shouldn't have any Sharpie on you when you woke up.
Yeah, that's true.
There was literally maybe never a night that I worked that puke wasn't involved in it. You know what I'm saying?
Like cleaning up, throw up out of your urinal.
Yeah, dude.
Oh
yeah,
man.
I couldn't like when I was new. I remember like the newest bouncer would always have to clean up the puke, or clean up the mess that's in the bathroom that some drunk idiot made in the bathroom. And as soon as we got a new person, I was like, "All right, dude, that guy's doing that from now on. I am done doing that because that's the absolute grossest, worst part of the job."
Well, I used to when I was working at like a restaurant down in South Florida, they would actually pay you $100 to clean up the throw up. Right?
Really?
It was like a fancy Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right, $100, clean it up." Dude, I was the first person there to clean up that throw up. I was the first person. But see,
if you had thrown some money behind it.
You got to get yourself into it first. That's like the first thing you got to do. You can't be scared of the throw up.
Yeah.
You got to get in, you got to smell it, and you got to know it's not, you can't be afraid of it. All right. You just get in there.
You lost me.
You just waft it, and you're like, "All right, let's get this cleaned up."
Let's go.
Right?
Let's
go. Yeah.
Do you remember? We're really going off on a tangent here. Do you remember at Boogie the bathroom situation?
There just wasn't any walls on the stalls.
Oh gosh,
Dude, it was like
they had the community bathroom.
Yes,
they had like
it had
single use bathroom, right?
No, it was just like one big room, and there was like 4 urinals, and then there was like 3 like toilets
with no walls.
And as when I was bouncing there,
wallless,
prison style,
you would walk in there because you'd check bathrooms to make sure like nobody's doing drugs or doing anything, whatever people do when they get hammered at a bar. You'd walk in there to check, and it was like we'd always, every time we'd walk in there, if somebody was taking a poop, we'd be like, "Hey, no pooping in this bathroom, dude. This is a no shit situation, dude."
Luke's in here. Hey, Luke somehow has pulled this up, guys.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Hey, the doors are made out of particle board, chipboard. Look at that.
No.
I wish you could go into that bathroom.
Can you go?
That's the female.
Can you go to the right real quick?
Or if it's a disco ball
Can you go that way? Okay, now turn to the left. See, there's you can't. There's 2 doors right there. One is a single use bathroom, and the other is like the normal bathroom.
So that's going down into the Bubbles Champagne Lounge, dude.
See, I don't even know if they had the single-use bathroom.
Go back so that you can see the sign that
days.
says $1.50 Bud Light, where that'll never exist again.
Let me explain to you guys what kind of establishment this is. On Thursday nights from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., all you had to do is pay like a $5 cover charge, and then it was free drinks.
Oh yeah, quarters.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. No, I remember that. I remember
And then inflation made them raise it to $1.
Yeah.
It was a 2 for $1 draws, 2 for $1.
Well, this was also 6 years ago in that picture.
Unbelievable. But I remember like thinking like, okay, so you just don't make. Well, they're just counting on you.
Stop right there.
That right there. My first night I worked, actually, I did coat check.
Oh, nice.
It was that nice of a place that was coat check.
They didn't always have that. I can tell you that.
Oh,
in fact, they even had a coat check.
That's where I got.
That's
smacked.
the dance floor.
That's the dance floor where I pulled the family apart and I got smacked with the watch.
Oh my!
Didn't they install?
I can
that later,
smell
Kyle?
this place, dude. I can smell it from the photos.
Honest to God, like what a cash cow that was for that family for a while. Because you couldn't even walk in that place. It was ass to elbows.
I don't think it was a cash cow. They sold it to the guy that was running it because they just wanted it off their books. Sure. They probably didn't want the liability anymore.
Understood.
We have nice. I mean, the Jalili family that owns that, or that did own it, they also owned the nicest restaurants in Springfield.
Flame.
So, they own Flame. Kai. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some.
They've added a lot. Have you guys been to Springfield recently? They've actually, the city's grown up a ton. There's a lot of new restaurants and breweries around. They've really built up downtown. So it's like there's actually like stuff to do now instead of just go to Boogie and pay 25 cents, you know?
Those are the days.
There's a lot of cool things to do there now.
Yeah, I hear people talk about Inner Circle and like some kind of like rodeo bar or something along these lines. These are places I've heard of. We haven't been back in a minute. We need to go back. Obviously, the restaurants are some of the best, honestly. Like we miss, like me and Kyle believe that the best sushi we've ever had is in Springfield.
Oh, where at?
Just as a totality.
Yeah.
You have like Haruno, you have Kai.
I had Haruno for the first time when I went down probably like 6 months ago. That was the best sushi I've had in Missouri.
Dude, Nikado, Japanese steakhouse. It also has sushi.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, right there.
Ohana,
Battlefield.
I mean, dude, they have a lot.
Kai After Dark.
Yeah,
all of it good.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously they have their own style of chicken too. They have the cashew chicken. Chicken. It's like, how does Springfield, Missouri get its own style of Asian food?
I don't know.
So it's
good.
good.
Just catch the fish from the river right there.
Very possible, dude.
It comes from Lake Taneycomo.
Instead of shipping it in.
We've been trying to find good sushi in Kansas City. Listeners, if you guys know some good spots in Kansas City for sushi, we want to know. We've had pretty much all of them, I feel like, but nothing compares to Springfield.
I've been still searching for some good quality Mexican food in Kansas City.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like there's many.
Yeah, I need some recommendations. I went to El Patron.
This guy's
the other day.
The food master.
You had El Patron?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, on the Southwest Boulevard.
Yeah, South Boulevard. So it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite, but it had high reviews, so I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. But last night we went to what's that place right there in Leawood?
If it's in Leawood, that's not real Mexican.
No, it's not real. It was pretty good though. It's pretty.
You
good.
went to K Machos?
Not K Machos yet.
Well, that's phenomenal.
I'll have to try that.
If you're out in Overland Park, Luke, what do you think about K Machos? Like 10 out of 10.
What about Jose Peppers?
You look like a chimichanga guy.
Applebee's Mexican.
Yeah, so I tried Jose Peppers and I was like, that was the first Mexican I had. And I was in South Florida where the Mexican food was amazing.
Sure.
I'm telling you, the best Mexican food ever. And so I was spoiled. Then I came here and I had Jose Peppers my first time. My girl was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. And I'm like sitting here, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I got some adjusting to do. But I know that like Kansas City, Kansas has like a large Hispanic population, correct? And so I'm sure they have tons of Mexican food over there. That's just amazing.
Well, what's your go-to order, Garrett? That's important.
I like steak tacos. I like tacos. You know?
All right, you get tacos. All right, so tacos.
I like street tacos.
So I would tell you that street tacos is different for Mexican food. Because it's like a totally different restaurant if you want it to be. Okay. So
they got some places in
the classic Mexican restaurant. It's gonna have like your rice, beans, espinaca dip. You know, like the white queso.
Yeah.
You know.
Am I wrong in saying though that street tacos are actually more closely related to like what you would find in actual Mexico?
I don't disagree. I'm not going to pretend like I know. I'm not walking the streets of Mexico anytime recent.
Yeah.
But no, I'm saying
tacos de lengua.
What you're used to when you go to a Mexican restaurant, it's like not what tacos is just one small thing on the menu, right?
Yeah, correct.
But Benito Michoacan.
There's
2 of them. One in KCK off Minnesota Boulevard, I believe it's a boulevard, but Minnesota Ave maybe. That's the best tacos in Kansas City, in my opinion, and I'm sure our listeners would agree if they've had them. You can't mess it up, dude. Their
I'm gonna
tacos
write
are,
that down.
it's a cafeteria line, so you know it's good.
Oh, yeah.
There's no servers.
Yeah.
Yep. It's in a grocery store. It's in the grocery store. And it's a taqueria. Not even a restaurant, just tacos.
Just a taqueria.
And they have
Street
like
tacos.
al pastor. They got like tongue.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
They got, and it's like, dude, they were the only place like forever that still did do $1 tacos on Tuesdays.
What's your favorite tacos?
What's up?
Stop touching this.
Oh, my bad. What's up?
What are your favorite type of tacos?
Al pastor and a carne asada. I think those two are my go-tos.
You ever have an octopus taco?
No, I've never had it.
Oh, that's good.
I like fish tacos.
Yeah.
I love fish tacos too. That's just not what I get at a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
If I'm in Florida, that's all I'm getting is fish tacos.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, of course.
Springfield,
Some
if you ever
grouper.
had purple burrito catfish tacos, pretty good.
Remember Sliders?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that little hole.
Our era was called Whistler.
It was called Whistlers.
Oh, you're talking about like the
Same
little,
exact
the
thing.
hole
I
in
think
the
they just
wall,
got sued.
the side. Yeah. Oh, okay.
They changed it to sliders. It's the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, grease bag burgers. dude.
Yeah, it's the best. It's 2 in the morning.
Tastes better after midnight.
Man, yeah, it does. 100%. It's kind of like that White Castles.
Or Taco Bell.
Yeah.
That all tastes better.
Oh, you kind of lost me there on Taco Bell.
You serious?
Yeah.
You're above Taco Bell?
I'm above Taco Bell.
The Decades menu just came out. Maybe you can have
I'm
childhood Taco
not
Bell.
a fan of Taco
Wow.
Bell
You get
either.
90s Gordita Supreme. You can get a 70s green burrito.
Wow. Is
They
it
have-
made with like quality F meat?
No.
Grade F meat?
No.
I think it's 88% original recipe.
Trash.
Something like that.
I think it's like 80% sand, isn't it?
No, they're advertising. What a good PR
I think
nightmare
it's
that was
actually
for them.
silica is what they were putting in
Silica
it.
gel.
And
Something like that.
you know, you can actually eat those and not get sick. Even though it says do not eat.
Really?
Not from personal
Oh,
experience.
I was just gonna say.
I looked it up.
I 100% knew
What
that.
toy got you?
Wait, why was it?
Sully,
Pre-workout scoops. You just decided screw it. I'm putting the whole thing in there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna, yeah.
Every
No,
pre-workout's got some.
my
silica gel.
son had found one of those when
really?
we were on vacation, and he chewed into it, and it busted all over the floor, and I was worried that he swallowed one, and I looked it up, or we called poison control, because obviously you think those are like the most dangerous thing that's ever happened, but they say do not eat or do not consume because it's a choking hazard is the reason for it. But yeah, they were like, those aren't like toxic at all, and I'm like,
Yeah, they're not.
oh.
I was so confused because I was like kind of scared of them. Like when I was eating beef jerky as a kid, I was like, that last piece, like when it's
Yeah,
touched
I
the silicone
shouldn't-
gel bag, I'm not eating it.
Yeah, it's a choking hazard, everyone. So you can eat it, and it is delicious. Just finish it off. At
It
the
is
very
good.
end.
So like
No.
if I'm dieting,
He's been eating every silica gel packet ever since. Yeah.
yeah,
it's like eating paint chips as a kid, right?
basically.
Yeah.
Name that movie.
Uh huh.
Name Paint and Chips as a kid as a movie.
Oh yeah.
What quote?
Happy Gilmore.
Did you eat paint chips as a kid?
I don't know, man.
You're on the right trail.
Yeah, it's an Adam Sandler movie.
It's not.
Billy Madison.
Nope.
No, it's for sure Billy Madison.
I think it's for sure Black Sheep with Chris Farley.
Oh.
They were gassing him off. They were cleaning the water off of him with gas in it after he got done with trying to cow tip.
Cow tip. Yep.
Like, did you eat paint chips as a kid?
What movie is that called?
Black Sheep.
That's where they try to sell the. He takes over his dad's company.
You got it. You got it right here, Luke. Good job, dude. Nope, that's Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Black Sheep is his brother's running for governor in the state of Washington.
Oh.
Where he goes, please, little roots, please stay strong. As he's like
that's
falling
right,
down
that's
that hill.
Oh, it's Tommy Boy.
Is this Tommy Boy or Black Sheep? Tommy Boy. Never mind.
Why?
My bad, Tommy Boy. But I was on the
Yeah,
right
that's right. Okay.
track. Why? All right, so 40 minutes into this podcast. So you fight in the UFC, huh?
I fight in the UFC. I'm a UFC athlete. Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, dude. What was it like the day that you got the call that you're 100%
Oh.
fighting in the UFC?
Man,
What a dream come true.
I cried. 100% I cried because he put so much into this just to get that call. Actually, I was visiting home for 4th of July, and I had just gotten happy hour with my dad. So we were actually getting Mexican in Eureka, and had a couple margaritas and whatnot, and just hanging out. And went back to the house, and I went on a walk, and I lived out on the outskirts of Eureka, where there's this like old infirmary that's like up the hill. It's like abandoned now, but like you just go up there and it's kind of spooky.
Yeah,
right?
sounds like a horror movie for sure.
It's pretty interesting. So I went up there, and my phone was even in my pocket. My phone was actually like off, like on a rock or whatever. Maybe it wasn't on me, and I missed a phone call from my manager, And I was like, oh, that's weird. Usually my manager, I just text. Like whenever like he calls, it's usually like we schedule the call ahead of time and we kind of have like a whole game plan, whatever. And so I was like, oh, my manager just called me. And I was like,
Out of the blue. That's not
out of the blue. I was like,
that's
that's random. I was like, I'm gonna give him a call back. Get a call. He's like, hey, you want to fight David Onama in 3 days? I'm like, wait, hold up.
Kansas Cityan?
Kansas Cityan. Fought him in my last amateur fight.
That's awesome.
My last amateur fight. And they're like, yeah, you want to fly out to Vegas in 3 days to make your UFC debut? I was like, oh, yeah, 100%. So
Did they say in 3 days?
in 3 days, it was a Tuesday.
God.
So 4 days, 3 days, whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
What weight did you have to drop?
I fought up a weight class. So I was like, awesome. I was like, 100%. Put my phone down, or hung up the phone, looked up the last flight out of St. Louis that night was through a Spirit Airlines flight. And so I hopped on a flight, and I woke up, or I took a nap. Next thing I know, I'm freaking in Las Vegas with a little bit of a hangover from the happy hour. So I'm sitting there in this hotel and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to make my UFC debut against a guy that I have already fought before. And I was like a -900 betting underdog, or a +900 betting underdog. And so, yeah, I just remember like I already had like 3 other teammates that were fighting on the card. So it actually worked out perfectly because my entire team was already there. And so I remember just flying in and then like soaking up all of it, you know, trying to. I had so much I had to get done whenever I got there. Like when you get there, you have to get all your medicals done. So the first day I was there, I had got to get my eyes dilated and everything. So I was sitting there in Vegas, like no clue where I was at. And I was trying to get around, get all my medicals done while I had my eyes dilated. So I was like having everybody like schedule it for me. Like the front desk lady was going through my phone to get me to the right place. And I remember everybody was counting me out. Every single person was counting me out, of course. Like I could kind of feel like my coaches that were kind of counting me out too. They're like, let's just go have some fun or whatever. And I was like, no, I came here to fight. I came here to win. And at that time, I didn't care about having a game plan. I was like, I'm just going to fight this dude. At this point, like I'm not in shape. I'm not ready to fight, but I'm ready to fight. Like this is my dream. This is what I've worked so long to accomplish and work towards. You know, it took me 10 professional fights to get there. I was 8-2 whenever I got signed, and it was about a month after 2 months after my last fight. And so I just remember like sitting in my hotel room on fight day before I got to go down and go fight. And I remember like sitting there and looking over the Las Vegas Strip, sitting there in my hotel room, like getting teary-eyed to myself, like, thank you so much, Garrett. Thank you so much for never quitting. Thank you so much for fighting through adversity. All those like lonely nights where you just sat up and waited or thought all night before you went to sleep was, am I going to make it? Am I going to make my dream come true? It was all worth it at that point. So I didn't care if I had to go fight Brock Lesnar across the cage from me. It didn't matter. I knew that was where I was meant to be at that moment. And so I went out there and I ended up losing the fight in the second round. I got submitted, but everybody thought he was going to knock me out. And if you go back and watch the fight, they gave him on the judge's scorecard the first round, but I was like landing the cleaner shots and I wobbled him once or twice. So it was an awesome experience, 100%. And even after the fight, people were like, oh, like I got like a lot of like mad respect for that fight. So it was just like a dream come true to be able to get
how cool, man. Thanks for walking us through that.
Crazy.
For people who don't know, including myself, they give you that call. That's your first fight in the UFC. Before you have that fight, are they signing you to like a 3-fight contract or what?
Yeah, it's a 4-fight contract that I got signed to.
Nice.
So, but at that same time, the UFC can choose to cut you at any moment, right? So it's not guaranteed.
Oh, is that for everybody too?
It's for everybody. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no guarantee.
I wonder everybody's fighting so hard for like, you know, the fighters' kind of like rights, if you will, with the UFC, because it seems like it's pretty one-sided.
Yeah, it is very one-sided. It is.
So
still an opportunity. No one's, complaining. I'm just saying, like, I see there's a lot of people on social media that fight for the advocacy of the fighters because it just feels like, they're just not treated with the most, I don't know, they could be treated a lot better, it feels like. Yeah,
there's like, a couple different areas that could be improved, obviously. I'm very fortunate for my job, of course. I love it. It's a dream come true. I mean, they could pay us more, of course. It makes good income, but it's like compared to other professional sports, it's kind of like a drop in the bucket unless you're one of the top guys. So, there's that, and then there's no health insurance. So you have to get your health insurance to the marketplace. And so that's just kind of situation at hand there. But
Is there a players association for fighters?
No, they've tried in the past, but it's kind of hard whenever it's very confusing, like area.
Yeah.
You know, because it's kind of like this. If the UFC is like, oh, you want to be you guys want to unionize? Oh, okay, you're fired.
We'll find some different fighters.
We'll find a dude that is sitting in Brazil right now with nothing, and we'll give him a free hotel for a week and free food, and he'll fight for free.
Yeah,
you know, and they can make anybody into a star. Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, I will say though, you know, because I've listened to quite a few of Dana White's podcasts, and it's like what he's been able to do with making that a profitable company is it's amazing.
Oh yeah,
because he bought it, it wasn't worth shit.
It was bankrupt when they bought it.
Yeah. It was worth less than zero basically when he bought it, and he bought it for like what was it, $10 million or something like that. It was
just like $1 million.
Or it might have been.
Or the Fertitta brothers bought it and then put him in charge of it.
Correct.
So
yeah, but he wasn't 50% owner of it.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no clue.
Yeah,
but he's grown that, and so like his business model has grown, and you know there is a lot of opportunity, a lot of money to make in the sport.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just a lot of
and then like a lot of to build your name and all those things. You build a market for yourself. You know, you gotta think the fighters gotta use the UFC to build their own brand and then segue into whatever else they want to do with their life.
Yeah.
You know,
is that a lot of pressure? Do you feel a lot of pressure from that?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
You know,
do you feel better because you have a degree? I would guess a lot of fighters kind of are just effed if the you know,
not a lot of plan B.
Not a lot of plan B. I mean, because you can't really have a plan B in the sport. Like you can, but you gotta have to be all in at a certain point. Uh-huh. So, you know, I chose to go out and get a degree first and make sure I had backup plans, you know, built in before I went and chased this dream. And so, because you could always get an injury, or you could always, you know, you could lose your job, whatever it may be.
Have you had any personal encounters with Dana White to this point?
Yeah, actually, I got to talk to him a little bit during weigh-ins at this last fight. So we just had a little small talk. That was it. Nothing too much, but that was my. I've met him before, but that was like the most I've talked to him.
Sure. We actually had a conversation, not just a handshake.
Yeah, exactly. Actually talked to him a little bit. So he's actually a really cool guy. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but Dana White, after Trump won the election last night, Dana White was talking. I was like, what are we doing? This is wild.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see him there.
Yeah.
Dana was also part of just roasting the hell out of Tom Brady. Remember that?
Yeah, I saw that. He had Sean O'Malley with him and a couple other guys.
Yeah. Tell me this. How did Canada come about? You know what I mean? Like
that was my second time fighting in Canada, actually. Yeah. So I love fighting in Canada. The crowd's awesome there.
Even after this last fight, you want to do it again?
I would like to stay in the States just due to taxes, international taxes, and then also like a little bit more fair judging, I would have to say. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Taxes, and, I mean, what, they take half your purse?
No. It took 15%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still like 15%. Like,
and the U.S. is still going to take their cut as well then, right?
Yes. Yes, they do.
It's still part of your income.
Part of my
right?
income.
So.
Yep. And it acts as a tax deduction, not a tax credit. So it lowers my my taxable income, but it doesn't lower the taxes owed.
Yeah.
It does in a way, but you know what I mean. It's not the credit. So that's just kind of how that is. But yeah. So it's my second time fighting in Canada. The first time was in Toronto against Brad Katona, which I was a big underdog for that fight, and that was a crazy experience I've ever fought, because I was the fight right before the main card, and so the stadium was filled with people, and that was the most scared I've ever been before a fight. I remember just the anticipation from walking the locker room to the tunnel was almost like unmanageable. Like, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never felt that before, and it was so exhilarating, such like a real thing. And but for me, it's like as soon as I feel the crowd and I see the crowd, it all goes away. And like I just like soak up the moment, and I just get so into it. I love it. I love
get into the zone.
I love getting in the zone, just having everybody around me. I feed off the crowd energy. You know,
who's your support typically on fight day?
My support. Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
who's in your corner?
Well, shoot, all of Missouri, my family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody.
I apologize.
But, like physically.
Yeah. Who's
so
who do you want to make sure is there by your side?
Always my head coach, Trey Ogden, and then I always bring one teammate with me, and that will change. So like sometimes it's Miles, but Miles had his fight this weekend, so he wasn't able to make it. So I had an old friend from Florida. His name's Bobby. So he came with me. And then my manager is always in my corner as well. So, all you need is 3 mother effers, right? To get the job done. Yeah.
How is it at Marathon with Trey, man? And we've heard nothing but phenomenal things.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
We've had Miles on the podcast as well, and he was always singing his praises.
Yeah. Marathon's awesome, man. It's like a small little close-knit team, right? And there's my boys, right? Trey, Miles, and that's Stephen Graham as well. Actually, I fought Stephen right before I got to the UFC. They dude on the very far left. Mm-hmm. But he was my fight before I got signed. And I'd won that one, but he was super respectful and cool guy before.
What's the story with that when you faced it? Was it David Onama?
Uh-huh.
When you fought him in your last amateur fight? How'd that one go?
I lost that by decision too. That was actually I had to go up a weight class because I couldn't find anybody in the area to fight me. I was 6-0 as an amateur with like 5 first-round knockouts. And so I couldn't find anybody to fight me. So they put me up a weight class, and I went to Kansas City for KCFA and fought David. And
Wow.
Luke. Wow.
Yeah.
Fired.
I got kneed like 5 times in that fight in the face.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yep. And after that, I was like, nope, I'm going to turn professional and get paid to do this.
Yeah.
I'm getting kneed in the face. Yeah. But
you can't get kneed. You got kneed.
You got player. Boom. Young G.
Do you hate fighting somebody that's got that much wingspan on you?
Nah, don't bother me.
Doesn't bother him.
Yeah, don't bother me.
Doesn't bother him when you bad mother.
You're just fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty fast there.
I know we're both friends with Elle Wagman, and Elle used to give me like the rundown of every fighter at those FAC fights.
Yeah.
And she'd give me a little text of like each person. And so about David Onama, and this is her talking about him in 2020. She goes, insane athlete, exciting striker, and super scrambles in his grappling. Expect some craziness. It'll be a fun fight. But I was looking to see if you were a part of her, and it's like, this is in 2020. Trey Ogden, David Onama, Mikey England, Anthony Goldfield, John O'Brien. I got little tidbits on each one. And then, is it Kevin Kroom?
Yeah, Kevin Kroom.
The most savage dude you've ever seen. He will be in the UFC this year for sure.
He actually got to the UFC too.
Mm-hmm. His guy is hella short, so expect tons of flying knees and heavy hands. Was he facing you? Because you were 5'6", and
at this point, no.
Kroom is like 5'10" or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, dude. Just a ton of names out there in Kansas City fight scene, man. It's wild how many are making it.
It's grown a lot.
Exciting.
It's grown a lot. And now it's crazy how many of the guys have gotten to the UFC now.
I know that this last fight didn't go the way you wanted it to go, and we followed the fight, and what's the guy's name again? How do I pronounce it?
Serhiy Sidey.
Serhiy Sidey. Mm-hmm. He said after the fight, I thought I lost that fight. And you don't hear that from a lot of fighters.
No, and a lot of people thought that he lost that fight.
A lot of people.
If you look at
like anybody with eyeballs that can see.
I would say about 99% of people I came across said that I had won that fight, and a bunch of like top name UFC fighters were all like tweeting about it, like saying it was a robbery and all those things. So it's a tough pill to swallow. It really is, because you do all the work and you do everything you can, and still not to get the win, even though you technically you beat him in the fight. A
fighter friend of mine once told me that when you're a part of a fight like that, it can actually help you.
Yeah.
You can tell me if you think that's true or not, but he just said that when everybody starts weighing in on the robbery of a fight, luckily now everybody knows your name. And they'll be looking at you a little bit more.
Your name gets out there a lot more. So
that was a good point up there, where he's like, that's why their ruling should be explained to fighters and coaches, so they can assess fights and basically make sure that you guys are doing
making adjustments.
Making adjustments.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's saying in real time. So like in between rounds, your coach could be like, hey,
Well, Kansas has open scoring.
Yeah.
So like the judges, they'll show you if you won that round or not, which makes sense. Like in any other sport, they do that. They do the
you got to know where the score.
You got to know the scores.
Or did you wrestle in high school?
Me? Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So it's like the score. You know what you need to get. Yeah.
And I understand that MMA is not really like a point based system. I mean, it is, but not the same way. It's not like you get two points for jabbing him. But yeah, I just remember being in that fight and just being, for one, I remember like being super like present in the moment which is awesome because you sometimes like fighters will like just like kind of see red or like forget all about like forget what
adrenaline takes over.
Adrenaline takes over all of those things. So yeah, just remember just being in there, and I remember cracking him with the jab and seeing his face get red, and he was wincing with every punch that I was landing, and then hit him with like right hands and kicking his leg and spinning him, taking him down, and I feel like I was in control of most of that fight. There's probably one point where he hit me, and I finally kind of like backed up a little bit.
My God, that scorecard.
But can you see that? Yeah, 4 out of 5 takedowns, 5 minutes of control time, total strikes 77 to 75. Man. And like his face was more damaged. If you look at my face right now, I don't have a single mark on me. Not a single mark.
Yeah. Can't make sense of it, but like I said, hopefully
but then you got to think
the amount of people that are talking about this fight, rather if you win this fight, is your name out on social media as much?
No, you're right. Very true, but you also got to think. So the fight before that, I've lost 2 in a row now. The fight before that, I had a banger fight. Had dropped him. I thought I'd finished him. And then he came back and got me in a submission. It happens. Mistakes made, whatever. Just live and learn. Mm-hmm. And so I got this matchup, and it was a tough fight. And now, I thought I had won. I ended up losing. And now it's like, oh, now I've lost 2 in a row. And so now it's like, well, the UFC, like they can cut you at any point at that, So if I go out there and I have to win my next one, if I don't win my next one, then my job's gone. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of frustrating that, we put so much work into it just kind of for the judges to kind of take it away. And not only that, but you get half your paycheck as well. So there's just like a lot of consequences that go along with with all of those things. Right?
Are you actively searching for your next fight?
Yes, I am. I am actively searching for my next fight, trying to get that lined up as well.
What goes into like a search like that? Your management do this? Who puts these fights together?
Well, the UFC will just come to you with the matchup. They'll come to my manager and be like, do you want this fight? And you have to say yes. You say no, then they're like, okay, well, we're going to sit you for 6 months. You're not going to get paid. And then you're going to have to fight some undefeated Russian that nobody's ever heard of. So you have to say yes. Mm-hmm. A lot of tactics involved with it. Yep.
Yeah, they'll remember if you said no, huh?
They will remember. And that's
that's how James Krause's name got built.
Yeah,
he was just like,
taking all the short fights.
Well, you kind of have to.
Whatever.
I've never turned down a fight unless I was like, I think the one fight I did turn down in the UFC was I had pink eye for like a month straight, and I was bedridden, and they offered me a fight, and I was like, dude, I cannot fight right now. Yeah, I have pink eye for a month.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I remember that. Was it, might have been 2020 or something like that, but there was one of the most gangster moves. James's fighter, like the day of or 2 days before, whatever, had to pull out, and he's like, "I'll fight him."
Yeah, I stepped up. Yeah, against Trevin Giles.
James was just like, I'll jump in, I'll fight him.
Yeah, it was like
as the coach,
2 weight classes above him. He's like, "Screw it, let's go do it."
Yeah.
And then he lost by split decision, but a fight that a lot of people thought he won, and that was against a good fighter too.
It's crazy,
pretty wild, dude.
I just remember him posting that South Park with the guy carrying his balls in the
in the wheelbarrow.
That's so funny. Are you guys all right? So here's my question. Next fight, let's say the UFC doesn't work out long term. Mm-hmm. Is there another federation or another organization that you would like to fight with?
No.
So you're thinking you flexing the degree after that?
Oh, of course. I mean, my plan is to after fighting anyways.
Okay.
Right? Because I think unless make tens of millions of dollars, you gotta get a job after fighting. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's like a couple of avenues that a lot of people like take. Some people open up a gym. Some people like flex the degree and they go get a job. So I don't really have, I don't think I really have an interest in opening up my own MMA gym. I think I would want the more traditional career pathway to probably be best for me. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Coaching
it doesn't seem like
you do that on the side. Or?
I would do that on the side. Of course, I always do jiu-jitsu, and it's always my hobby. But I don't think I would want it to continue to be my job at that point. Because that's a lot of things people don't realize is that once your hobby becomes your job, you lose a hobby, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So it's like the way you relieve stress is like
it's now it's not an outlet. It's actually an outlet. It's the point of contention now.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's also a lot of damage to take on your body if you're not getting paid good money to do it.
Yeah, of course. There's people that they get released from the UFC and they work their way back. But I've accomplished my dreams 100%, and I still have goals I want to continue to smash while I'm in the UFC. But if life takes me another way, then I'm very thankful for everything that I've been able to experience and move forward in my life with.
That's a good outlook, dude.
You
know, a lot of people,
yeah.
a lot of people that get to the highest level, you know, like where you're at, it's like they have a hard time letting go. And it's not that you have to let go anytime soon, but it seems like you're comfortable with you're realistic in knowing that you can't do what you're doing forever.
Your emotional maturity, man, is crazy. I mean, you're 28 years old and you're talking about things that like you've mentally gone through. You know, this last fight, you know, there's no exact like template to follow.
No, it's not.
You feel like you get robbed in a fight, and you can take that so differently. And I mean, I read your post you made that, you know, the night of or the next morning, I can't remember which one, but just the first thing you said after the fight was just something with a ton of respect and something with a lot of maturity to it. And I'm just like, where are you getting that from?
A lot of introspection, right? Fighting is a rough way to live. It is. And so you have to remember why you do this, right? Not everybody can be Conor McGregor, and you kind of have to realize that. And you have to like learn just to love every part of it. Because I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to become a fighter. Like I said, I went to school. It's not like I had zero options. I still have options no matter what I want to do. So you kind of just have to take every part like as a blessing to know that like you get to accomplish this dream, you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's something when you have those big feelings after something like that happens and you know, the peanut gallery, if you will, is all saying, you got robbed, you got robbed, you got robbed. It's really easy to live in that space. So I would guess, you know, do you know do you have any idea where that came from, your ability to be able to compartmentalize those feelings and still have the outlook that you have right now, not even a week removed from the fight?
Yeah, man. I think it's because I thought I won the fight. That's why. I feel like my feelings would be completely differently if I went out there and got, you know, for lack of a better term, got dead bodied on TV, you know. I got my butt kicked, but in reality, I did great, you know. I fought my best fight, and I know the judges didn't give it to me, but that's just kind of just like the relationship you have to have with this sport, right? You know,
be
fighters,
able to detach.
You have to detach because fighters just becomes our identity, and you can't let it become your identity, which, you know, like, you got to have other things to look forward to in life. Otherwise, you'll just beat yourself up over and over again. And I've been my own worst critic in the past, you know. I spent like a long time like thinking like, am I going to make it to the UFC? Am I going to make it to the UFC? And like just trying to stay positive. And I've learned from that experience that, you know, you can't sit there and ruminate on what ifs. You just have to live presently and go forward. And so like, you know, whatever happens, or it was already in the past. 1 minute past that fight, that was in the past. And if I could sit there and dwell on it, then that's not going to be good for anybody. That's not going to be good for me. That's not going to be good for my girl. That's not going to be good for my family. If I sit there and just complain, nobody likes a complainer. People like doers.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can sit there and complain all I want, but it's not going to change the past. Mm-hmm. You just have to move forward. That's the only thing we can do in life is move forward. And I'm sure you guys both know that. You know, fighting has a lot of transferable skills into the real world.
Resilience being the main one, dude.
Resilience being the number one. I could have quit after I lost I was 5-2 when I started. I could have quit there, right? Because I wasn't undefeated or whatever it may be. But no.
I think it's so healthy. You know, I feel like you view yourself as a guy who competes in fighting and not like a guy who is a fighter. So like not making your whole identity that. Mm-hmm. And I think that
healthy.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
Is because, you know, you look at guys, even guys that are at the top level, like a Tom Brady or probably even Conor McGregor, which probably shouldn't come back and fight, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they can't help themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, they feel like that's all I got. You know?
I mean, dude, Tua Tagovailoa right now. You know, you hear his quote?
Exactly. What was that?
It's wild, dude. I mean, it was uncomfortable for reporters to even like report on him, you know, because he's like, I'm coming back, and everybody's wondering, you know, all these concussions, should he be coming back, right? And he's like, I love football, I love the sport, and he's like, I'll let it kill me.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was like, and the whole room just was like,
what?
That's not healthy, bro.
No, it's not.
You know, like you're young. You're really, really young.
Yeah.
And you are just the most susceptible person to concussions I've ever seen in my life.
And he has guaranteed, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, guaranteed, regardless of concussions.
So he's taken care of. He has his name too, where he could go do stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's articulate. He could obviously.
Yeah, but dude, here's the thing: is like what I was just talking about.
He's like, this is what I do. This is who I am.
Think about Conor McGregor. He's the highest earning fighter in UFC history, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have like.
But he made way more money on proper number 12 outside of a UFC.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably he's
close to $1 billion.
Out of like the top athletes, I think he was like made it to like number 3 on richest athletes,
which is crazy. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
And all the things he's built.
Tom Brady never has to worry about money again, but both of them want to come back, want to do it over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just think that it's just when people can like appreciate the time that they spend, like look at things as seasons. You know, like there was a season in my life that I was doing this, and there's seasons beyond that. But like, everybody goes through that. I went through that, a little bit in our career where it was like, when we had to move from like working, in the store, managing the store into like an ownership role, you kind of like mourn the previous life, not the same as fighting, obviously, but you get what I'm saying. It's like,
of course.
Your normal is new, and you're trying to figure out what that feels like.
You have to figure, it's like the transition that you have in life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No one tells you how to do it. And that's why I said, dude, you're 28 years old and you already have these outlooks. Like I'm just saying it's very impressive. And,
Thank you.
What you're doing, what you're doing, man, is very special. And how you're approaching it, I think, is not only special, but very healthy. And so we root for you, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate that. I've actually been looking for a position that I can do like around training as well to kind of like build that like professional experience up. So that's kind of because a lot of things I see with fighters is like they'll be like in their mid to late 30s and like didn't make enough to retire, and so now they're trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And I've always told myself like that won't be me.
Mm-hmm. Like Boogie is calling.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Boogie is calling.
Boogie's calling. Boogie's calling. So
the bar's calling, man.
God,
yeah. So
what's I gotta ask you this too. What how did you cross paths with Element Fitness and Bryce and Brock over there?
How did I cross paths with them? Let's see. I was actually working out with Garrick and
how'd you cross paths with Garrick?
Yeah. Bartending at Chicken and Pickle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So he'd come in and be like, "Hey, what's up?" They wanted to do like a whole. They found out that I worked there. And I fought in the UFC, and so they wanted to do like a whole event. So I started like kind of helping putting together watch parties and events. And so I put together a watch party for I think one of the UFC fights, and Bryce was there. And so we just like all connected there. And Bryce was like, "Hey, you want to come work out?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I'll come work out." So that's how I got connected with him. Started going to Element Fitness, and so that's what I've been doing.
Sweet gem, man.
Yeah, honestly, if you looked at the last fight, that was my cardio has ever looked, and like I was like 10% more shredded than I was in my previous weigh-in picture.
Yeah, dude, when you posted, man, you were ripped up.
Yeah, it worked out a ton, and it was awesome. He's a great guy.
Shout out Bryce and Brock
Bryce,
at Element, and shout out Wes Osborne.
Yeah, Wes, my man, Wes, of course.
For the nutrition side of things. We have one question we ask every single person who lives in Kansas City at the end of every one of these podcasts, and it's very simple. We are known for barbecue here, not Mexican food, sadly, and not sushi, sadly. But we are known for
Southwest
barbecue.
Boulevard's kind of popular.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't disagree. He was just saying he didn't find any Mexican food he really loved yet.
Working on it.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you have friends come and visit you and whatnot, where's the barbecue spot you have to bring them to?
Oh, Joe's Barbecue, of course.
Ooh.
That's 100%.
Do you have a preferred location?
No.
The gas station or out south or wherever?
I would say the gas station one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
What's your go-to order?
Burn ends.
Oh.
Yeah. But I'm gonna be honest.
Z-Man?
My
traditionalist.
My dad's barbecue is the best barbecue I've ever had.
Damn.
You can't beat home barbecue. He's a big smoker.
Hey man, St. Louis has got some damn good barbecue too.
They do. They got
can't be hating over here.
super smokers out there and all of those
ribs.
The ribs, man.
Yeah.
St. Louis style ribs.
Pappies and Sugar Fire.
Mm-hmm. But for all of our listeners who have become a Garrett fan today, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on social media on Instagram at Garrett Armfield 135 and also on X. I post a lot of memes, a lot of dumb memes, but they actually get some viewers. So Armfield 135. You guys can find me there, Garrett Armfield on Facebook, and you guys can tune into ESPN and kind of catch out my next fight.
Let's go.
Whenever that may be.
Love it, man.
Let's go.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah,
brother.
thanks for having me.
Great to get to know you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.